Hey everyone, it's Robert White here, and it's Coffee with Me, episode number 1 of 2018. The first guest for 2018 has 35 years of industrial manufacturing experience. He's the owner of Sterling Innovations Group. He's got 35 years of entrepreneurial experience, and he's the author of 2 different books, Profit and Extreme Performance and Who's Buying. He's my first guest of 2018. I can't wait to introduce you to him. Make sure you stick around. All right, so here we go. It's the first episode of Coffee with Me, and I want to introduce you to the owner of Sterling's Innovation Group. This is James Sendoma. Welcome to the couch, sir.
Pleasure to meet you, Robert.
Very cool. So I want to learn a lot of different things about entrepreneurship. I read through the book Profit and Extreme Performance. There's some really cool topics in there.
Thanks for reading all the way through.
And so I'm really excited for you to kind of come on the show and tell people a little bit more about the book, the points in the book that you make, and just some cool stories about being an entrepreneur would be excellent. So let's start with the book. Tell us the ideas and where Profit and Extreme Performance came from.
Well, the whole idea of the book is the good, bad, and ugly side of entrepreneurship. So everybody says, oh, it'd be great to be an entrepreneur. I want to find my entrepreneurial passion. And they don't realize all the ugliness that comes with entrepreneurship until they're in it.
Exactly.
And heaven forbid that they second mortgage on their house, took out money out of their 401k, and now they're in trouble. So the book was really written as a cautionary tale. And the stories in the book are true stories. I'm a storyteller. I live the stories in the book. And okay. those are lessons that I felt necessary to pass along to entrepreneurial community.
Very cool. Well, what do you think was like the starting point for you in entrepreneurship? Give me like a little bit of like, how did you get started? What was the piece that really got you excited about being self-employed?
Probably the best piece of all was to really get out and challenge myself. I had a career working out in corporate America, and it's a successful career, and I found myself needing more of a challenge. So I thought, I have some ideas. I want to get out into the world, into the entrepreneurial world, and try them out.
Awesome. So what was the first thing that you started? What was the first thing that failed or was successful? What was it?
Oh, how far back do you want to go?
Go back. Tell us the story.
You want to go all the way back to when I was a paper boy or before that or whatever?
Your first entrepreneurial experience when you first made 100% of the income that came in from a job.
Oh, that was when I first when I left my career path in corporate America and went on and opened up an equipment distributorship.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And the thing that I brought that was somewhat innovative was single source responsibility. And that was a tagline that I coined, and it's been copied. It's nice to have other people copy it. But an example of that would be, let's say, you have a piece of equipment and, there's motors on it and there's controls on it, much like an appliance that you would have in your house, only it's a little heavy duty for manufacturing. Mm-hmm. And the motor breaks down. So you call the person that you bought the appliance from, and they say, well, that's too bad. Call the guy that made the motor.
Okay.
So single source responsibility is the guy who sold you the machine is responsible.
Makes sense. If only it was like that now.
Well, it should be like that now. It's. I see some people actually using the phrase, and it always makes me smile. But that was my first little piece of innovation that I wanted to try that was somewhat different than what was going on in the world at the time.
Okay, very cool. So a lot of the stories and trials and tribulations of entrepreneurship you put into PEP, or Profit and Extreme Performance. What are some of the key points that you think every entrepreneur in the world should really know about?
Well, the first thing, probably the most important thing, is that everybody in your family has to be on board with your vision.
Okay.
And I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about the dog, the cat, the fish and your kids, your wife, everybody has to be on board because it really is going to involve everybody in your family, and they all have to be able to jump on board with your vision.
And you're talking about like the sacrifice of time and being
Right.
out of the house,
Being
and
out of
having
the
to travel,
house and the travel and not even the travel. I mean, just the you could be in your shop and your shop could be across the street from your house or in the attached garage,
Right.
and you're spending 20 hours a day in your shop, and you're eating out of peanut butter jelly sandwich instead of coming and sitting down at the table with your family.
Right.
That takes a toll. But if everybody is on board with it, they'll understand it, and you'll be able to go through with it. Otherwise, you're probably a good candidate for divorce court.
That would make sense. So I think getting a support system built up,
Yeah.
and making sure that you're kind of held. They're allowing you to hold yourself accountable. I really want to do
Yeah.
15 hours today. I can't be in the house playing with the dog, doing stuff with the kids maybe,
Right.
or just being at the dinner table 7 nights a week. I really have to be
Right.
focused.
Yeah, and the
Okay.
last thing you want to do is come home, from your steady job with a good health plan and all the things that are important to the structure of the family, and say, "Honey, I got this great idea, and I'm going to quit my job tomorrow." Okay, you got to really think about how you're going to present the vision, to your family.
Okay.
Is it something that they can get involved with? How are you going to meet the needs of the family along with this?
Right. Okay. So for the entrepreneurs of the world, that's amazing advice. Let's talk about, or let me ask you a question about the people that are currently in a full-time job someplace that have a great idea and they want to expand into entrepreneurship. What advice would you give them? Well, the first piece you already said, don't quit your day job yet.
Yes.
Is that the first thing you would tell them?
Well, there's two types of things, and it all depends on kind of how your brain is wired, and I've actually recommended both ways depending upon the complexity of your vision. So you can be like me,
Mm-hmm.
leave your job and start running down that path towards your vision, or you can actually go to your superiors and say, "I have this great idea." Or you can recognize something within your company that your company no longer wants to do, and you can take that over under the umbrella of protection that they're already providing. It's referred to as intrapreneurship.
Okay.
So you're acting as an entrepreneur, but you have the protection of the corporation. Now, why would they want to do this? Because they no longer want to put the funds and energy into it. Actually, they don't. It's more about energy than anything. They'll let you take over that piece of intrapreneurship, go develop it, and let's say you develop it into something, and then they'll take a piece of the action. Now, an example of this would be Xerox. Xerox was instrumental in helping Apple grow. They owned stock in Apple. Apple was actually operating under the umbrella of Xerox, and then Xerox made a big mistake. They sold everything before Apple took off, and they didn't get the benefits of that entrepreneurial relationship.
Okay.
So, some people, I would say, it's time to leave your job and start going towards, depending upon the project, and also depending upon the environment. If it's a real toxic environment, it's time to leave.
Yeah, I agree. So I want to know a little bit more about Sterling Innovations Group and a little bit more detail about what you're doing right now, what that company's about, what kind of ideas you have. I know that in our local market, your name comes up often as a serial entrepreneur and wanting to help and push and grow businesses. Is that part of Sterling Innovations, or are they two separate things?
Well, serial entrepreneur, that just means I've had many failures and I've learned many lessons. So Sterling Innovations Group came about after a 5-year run in which I was realizing my dream as operating my own manufacturing plant and providing jobs.
Okay.
So I wanted to get to the point where I would provide jobs, real jobs, where people who were on board with the company could make money by doing things smartly. And they didn't require constant supervision every day.
Okay.
So that had a great 5-year run, fell down on its knees. So you take the lessons that you've learned from it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you apply it forward. And from those lessons, Sterling Innovations Group evolved.
Okay.
So Sterling Innovations Group was about showing would-be entrepreneurs how to be successful, because getting from your idea to a successful, sustainable company is a process.
Absolutely. So there's obviously a lot of sacrifices when you decide that you want to be an entrepreneur. Time is one, gray hair, your body takes a toll.
Yeah.
I think we both kind of know the stories
Yep.
of what it takes to really
Yep.
get things off the ground a little
Yeah,
bit.
many ups and downs.
Absolutely. There's a learning curve involved in the
Yep.
situation. You have to be able to hold yourself accountable and really get out there and dig into things. Some of the things that you brought up in your book actually that were kind of unique are, I've heard so many entrepreneurs talk about a handful of different topics that you claim they're myths
That's correct.
or not accurate maybe. So can you describe some of those for me and tell me what those are and why?
Probably the most common one is an entrepreneur wears many hats.
Okay.
And actually, the successful entrepreneurs wear the least amount of hats as possible. Think about it. So the whole phrase wearing many hats means you have to do a lot of things in your business. So you're going to do you're going to, if you're manufacturing a product, you're going to manufacture the product. Then you're going to do the sales. Then you're going to do the accounting. Then you're going to do shipping and receiving. And you're going to do the invoicing. You're going to wear all these hats. The problem is you're going to do all of them poorly, thus setting yourself up for failure. What you really need to do is be creative. Do what you do best. If it's engineering, do engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Find an accountant who has an entrepreneurial mindset and understands what you're going through and can help you, with your accounting at startup fees, if you will.
Right.
Farm out your shipping and receiving. I farm out all my stuff to the local UPS store over here. I don't want to be bothered with that.
Right.
I used to do it. It's a total waste of my time. I should be doing engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So the more hats that you can farm out or do what you do best and then outsource the rest, the more successful you'll be. So wearing the least amount of hats is better than saying I've got to know accounting, I've got to know shipping and receiving. So that is probably the biggest trap some of the poorest advice that you can give an entrepreneur is you must wear many hats.
Okay, that makes total sense to me because I am wearing many hats.
Yes. Yeah.
And doing a lot of things, but I think in 2018 I'm really starting to reach out and delegate things.
Sure.
There's people coming into my business that are now doing content creation. There's all kinds of fun stuff kind of happening with my company, but I'm starting to learn that process to delegate and give other people pieces and responsibilities. And it's hard because I think you start a business and this is my baby. You're kind of like a new mother. You're like, no, I don't want anyone to hold it. I'm afraid you might drop it or break something. And that's kind of a hard thing to overcome.
Yes.
But it's absolutely something that you have to overcome to really kind of move and grow and be successful.
And you mentioned something earlier. You used the word accountability, and this is a lesson I had to learn early on. So the trap that I fell into is I would delegate, and without having an accountability lever attached to it, I would just think, okay, I sent that person off. I gave them all the specs and everything they need to do to satisfy the job requirement.
Mm-hmm.
But what you really need to do is have more of the timeline accountability checks along the way,
Right.
rather than just getting a phone call or an email from them saying, "Oh, I'm going to miss my deadline," the day of the deadline.
That makes
So
sense.
you need to have those checks to make sure that they're being accountable and living up to their end of the bargain, rather than just saying, "Oh, okay, I trust that person. They gave me a delivery date. On that date, it's going to happen." Chances are it's not going to happen unless you can, come back and check on it. And not to be confused with micromanaging. You don't have time for that.
Right. So one of the things that was surprising to me, and as an entrepreneur myself, and building a business plan in the very beginning of everything, one of the first things that I remember being told from business people was to go out and see what your competition is doing, what they're charging for their products, things that they're doing, so you can kind of get into that realm a little bit. But you challenge that as a myth.
Oh yeah.
So give me some more information about not going after your competition's pricing points.
Whenever somebody says, "Well, my competition's doing that, my competition's doing this," the first thing I say is, "Well, who says your competition is doing it correctly?" Most businesses are going out of business and they don't even know they're going out of business. And at some point, in order for them to survive, they have to take a course correction. So why would you set your compass on a business that's going out of business? A really good example would be, let's say you're manufacturing a product. And this is a for real example.
Mm-hmm.
You're manufacturing a product and your product is, let's say it's 5 times the price of their product. Oh my goodness, how am I going to be able to sell against their product? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to present your product totally different than that product is. So there's a reason why there's such a price difference. And that reason should be, well, there could be a couple. Your math is off, could be one, but
True.
The reason should be that your product does this, it brings these benefits, it does all these things that product misses.
Okay.
And that's why your product is a better investment.
You think it comes into the time and effort and just being able to price your product based on what you actually think it's worth, and trying the market before you...
That's part of it. The big chunk, though, is that the whole reason that you joined the world of entrepreneurship is because you have something that is innovative. You're going to disrupt what's out there in the marketplace. That's why yours is different.
That makes sense too. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. What about wants versus needs? That was another topic that I saw.
Yeah, so wants versus needs. And some people get confused. I really want this, but do you really need it? Okay.
Like that morning coffee that we get every day?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I really want this, but I also know I need it too.
I need it. I really need it. So, unfortunately for us, there's a coffee shop right down the street, Market Street Coffee and Tea, that we can get a refill anytime we want. So the note here is to focus on your customer's needs, and the wants will take care of themselves. So if your customer needs something and you can fulfill that need, at a fair price, and that what that means, a fair price is that it fits into your customer's budget, it provides a profit for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that in a timely fashion with a quality product, you're going to get the business every time.
Absolutely. So you're selling the want, or you're selling the need?
You're selling the needs. Actually, you're selling the benefits.
The benefits, absolutely.
Right. But you want to focus on the needs. Okay, the customer needs this, and you have to understand that when they're parting with their money, they're actually making an investment. Right. And the easiest way to explain that is you think of, in your case, you invest in your computer, and the computer is a tool, okay? Mm-hmm. You need that.
Right.
Okay, and it's an investment, and the pricing, the pricing, it really is secondary, because you're going to look at, I can purchase this low-end computer, mm-hmm. maybe there's going to be no one around that can service that, or there's going to be no aftermarket parts, or I can get a high end that'll do everything I want to do and more for expansion in the future. So that makes a really good investment. So you really have to look at, what your needs are. Usually, the low end will do what you want it to do for a short period of time on anything. This is a broad brush, low end car, low end computer, low end anything will do what you want to do for a very short period of time. Then you got to turn around and reinvest.
Yeah,
Well,
you got to buy another one.
You got to buy another one. So
Yeah.
you really didn't get your investment went out of that first one.
That totally makes sense. Okay, so we're going to talk about the book a little bit more. I definitely want to plug this book for you.
I appreciate
It
it.
is not only available in print, but it's also available in digital formatting. They can get it on Amazon.com. I'm going to throw a link to this book where you can buy it on Amazon on this video. So if you want to learn more about this book or read about the book, or just go buy it in general and learn more about James and his mission to change entrepreneurship and share ideas. But I'm going to give you the floor and be quiet for a second. I know you've been kind of talking to me about entrepreneurship, but I have a listener group. Hopefully this is growing. 2018, we're just kicking this off. You're the first
And
guest.
as a matter of fact,
What?
it's great to be the first in anything. I'm the first guest. That's good.
Yeah,
I
the
love
first
it.
of anything is
Yeah.
good. But the video is going to be online for years to come, hopefully. And so every time someone clicks on this, they're an entrepreneur, and they might have all kinds of questions. But I want you to kind of do your own shout out on the book and entrepreneurship, and just kind of close us out with a really good message.
Well, the message is, and it's interesting. The book, I'm very proud of the book because everyone that has purchased the book, I asked them the same question: what item in here really stuck in your mind? And it's really interesting because very few people, I think maybe 2 people, have come back and said something close. But everybody comes back with a different thing. Oh, I remember this, or this stuck out in my mind. But the thing about the book is a shining example of what's going to happen. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's great. I've written a book. It's going to be a million best-selling book."
Right.
Well, this book only moves off the shelf when it's properly presented, like we're doing today.
Right.
So in the world of entrepreneurship, you have to properly present your products and your services.
Absolutely.
And the one thing that you have to properly present is your trustworthiness and your integrity. And you have to conduct yourself throughout your whole life guarding those, because once you sell those and they're gone, it is a tough road back to regain your integrity. So everything has to be properly presented.
Makes sense.
And that's a good place to leave this.
Yeah, perfect. Well, hey guys, Coffee with Me is the show. I'm really excited that Jim was our first guest. If you want to get more information about Jim, just look at the comment and the information below on this video. We're going to put a link to his book. We'll put some information about Sterling Innovations Group if you want to reach out to him and ask more questions. Other than that, man, I really appreciate you having
Hey, thanks,
coffee
man.
with me. It was
great.
excellent.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.